Basketball Talk Pro. Today we have a subject that I really am excited about, and I think it's really good information for you coaches. The other night in game number 6, San Antonio went to Houston and beat them to go into the finals of the Western Conference. Remarkable feat. For one thing, they didn't beat them, they beat them bad, 123 to 101. They were missing 2 of their top players. Yet, if you watch the game, they simply did what they do every game, and without fanfare. You know, the Spurs are one of the teams in the NBA who'll pound their chest to try to point out how great they are and what they did. They make a butt dunk, they just run down the floor. Phenomenal behavior, but it's part of the system. It's part of their system. That's the way they are. And losing the players is also part of their system. That's what a good system does. Somebody's missing, somebody's sick, somebody's not there. They continue to perform at a high level because the person replacing them just stays within the system. It's very powerful. I listened to a interview with Parker a couple years ago when he was hurt, the year they won the NBA championship. And they asked him about it, you know, how is this going to affect the team? And he just simply said, it's not going to affect the team. We're a system. We play by a system. The next guy down will just come in, but he knows what he has to do. So it was a remarkable comment. Ginobili, in the same series of interviews, said, when they asked him about it, he said, we just do what Pop tells us to do. And I thought, how many coaches would love to hear their players say that? But it's part of their system. And I can't explain, and no one can, and no one should try, what each coach has as a system. Very few coaches have a system, to be very honest with you. They call it a system because they'll say, well, we run a trapping half court or whatever. They are naming a part of the system. They're not naming the system. The system is bigger than an offense and a defense. It incorporates what players you have and what you look for in players. And you can say, well, in my situation, I don't have anything to say about the players. They just come. Yes, you do have something to say. You have something to say who plays. You determine that. And so other places with recruitment and drafting, they can look for the kind of player that fits well to their system. And so it's a major part of a team's success, and it's a major part of a coach's success. Let me just say this about a system. There's 3 things you can see in any system. One, they're very consistent, game after game, year after year. They stay with their thing that they're doing, and that's the second part, is they're always the same. They look the same. I scouted San Antonio 15, 20 years ago. They look the same then that they look now. Sure, the game has changed a little bit. The 3-point has gotten to be bigger, a bigger scope for some coaches, not particularly for the guys that have a system. But the second thing is, the third thing is, they win with different players. And the players that San Antonio's got now, just go back and I'm going to show you 2014. And they're a different team. Yes, there's some of the players, Ginobili and Parker, maybe one or two others that were on those teams, but they lost a lot of key players. Doesn't make any difference. Every year, San Antonio is going to be one of the top teams in the West. It's their system. How do you determine a system? How do you build a system? Only one thing. It's part of conception. Your conception of what you want your team to look like. It's part about vision. What you see your team should be and what you want it to be. But most of all, it's about what you value. You see, all these coaches that have a system like Mata, Jackson, Sloan, Lombardi, Smith, there was one thing in there that they all valued. Maybe they don't even know it, but it's from the inside that's telling them what to do. And that makes, that's how you determine your system, and I would tell each of you, if you can do it, find your value. What is your real value? What do you really feel important and good about? Build it around that. You won't go wrong, because then you won't be so easy to quit it because you hear something at a clinic that looks better and all, you throw yours away and take theirs. If it's something that really means something to you, you're going to stay with it longer. It means more to you. Well, we're going to finish this up with showing you some statistical information about San Antonio that I think you'll find very revealing about the power of their system. So I'll go to that now. Well, I have 2 years I wanted to show you. First area here, and we will discuss all of these, was in 2014, San Antonio. I think that was the year that they won the championship. Could be off 1 year. This is, by the way, this is regular season, not playoffs. This is San Antonio in 2017, season ending in 2017. Again, 82 games. Both groups were played 82 games in a regular season. Now, I talk about consistency and I talk about sameness. As you see this, you're going to really see the power of having a system, which obviously San Antonio has an excellent one. Well, in 2014, on twos, they shot 50%. Their opponents shot 48%. Now, in 2017, almost identical. They shot 52% on twos. Their opponents shot 48%. You will see that defense is a key with San Antonio. They're very consistent in it. And I'm picking the key areas that we regard as keys to winning. So you can see they were very strong in this area both years. That's consistency. I think you could pick 15 years and you would see the same thing. Wanted to show you here that there was a little bit of difference, but that has something to do with the pace in the 2 years, which were very similar. But free throws that opponents get indicate that they foul a lot or don't foul a lot. And that was true of San Antonio. They don't foul a lot. Now, one area that I feel is questionable in both years, 24% of offensive rebounds, 23% in 2017. I just point that out. I think that should be higher. But again, it's what they do and how they do it. But the key area is this one right here, field goal evaluation value. Uh, what that tells you is they score 1.05 points for every field goal attempt they take, whether it's a three or a two. Uh, that's the beauty of this value, is that it doesn't make any difference. Threes are given their due, twos are given theirs. But in this particular season, 2004, they scored 1.05 points every time they took a field goal, average. In 2017, 1.07. That's pretty minute difference. But but their opponents in both seasons were at 0.98, which means that they were very dominant in their field goal percentage. Now, this rating, it would be too hard for me to explain. I don't pay a lot of attention to this. It's very indicative of their system, though. They're about 20 points difference in both. The one that we do pay attention to is their OER and DER. In 2014, 1.09, which in the NBA is very, very good, held their opponents to 1.01, a difference of 8 points in the OER and DER over 82 games. In 2017, it was 1.08. Again, the defense, 1.01. See how consistent that is? And it shows where they put their emphasis. This is a key number, though I'm probably the only one who really pays attention to it, but it is a key number. It determines the win or loss. Winning 79% of the time, the team that has the most combined defensive rebounds and steals, and I explain this a lot in Basketball Talk Pro and in the books. So I always use this figure, but look at they're very consistent again, that they are substantially better when you consider it over 82 games. Better in more, they have more defensive rebounds and steals than their opponents. Here there was more defensive rebounds and steals available because the opponents were missing. And so San Antonio was getting a lot of defensive rebounds. But in these particular game, both years, they were a little bit higher in the 2017. I think that's because of the speed of people taking shots. But you can just see Popovich written all over this. It's where he puts his emphasis. It's where his system is built on. We don't know, and we don't have a way of knowing how Popovich would explain his system. A lot of coaches have a real good system, but they don't really have a name for it, or a consistency, or a way of verbalizing it. Doesn't make any difference. What's important is it's there and it's in place. And you can go through many of the great coaches, and what you're going to you go back to Dean Smith, definite system, Mata, a definite system, though I know I've talked to both of them. I don't know if either one of them would verbalize it, but they knew they had it. Jerry Sloan, Phil Jackson, and Popovich. They had terrific systems. Those five guys, you can go back and do the same thing with charts. Mata, maybe 20 years, and you would see the same kind of consistency in their numbers. The odd thing about this is all five of those coaches had vastly different systems than their opponents. In fact, almost every one of them. They were the only team in the NBA or college doing it, having that kind of a system. By the way, I left out a person that certainly should be in there, and John Wooden. He only made one adjustment in his career to his system when he had Lou Alcindor or Jabbar. But listen to this: Jabbar and as now and was Alcindor then only lost one or two games in their whole college career. I think there was something like 80-1 or 80-2. They were a dominant, very dominant player. He made an adjustment, very small, subtle, but he did play to that one person. Well, I'm hoping I'm getting my point across. Coaches, put all that stuff away. You go to clinics and you hear 12 different coaches talking about their stuff. You got to have your system, a system that you run every year. The three things that you can see in a system is consistency. It always remains the same, and it produces with different players. And that is a real key. That players change, but the system never changes. And you look in your conferences, look around, and you'll see those graybeards that got a system that have been there year after year after year. They always are tough to beat. Sometimes they're championships, sometimes they're not quite as good, but they're always doing the same thing and doing it well. It's a key to coaching. Don't let anybody ever tell you anything different. Just look around and study, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Well, this next series is going to be unique in that both Golden State and San Antonio have good systems, and so it'll really be more of a battle of systems. It'll be interesting to watch it. Hope you have a good time in between our sessions, and I'll see you next time.